Wake up to know.
Can you imagine?
Okay. Good morning. We're going to start. So
I guess I should throw them away.
we're very chatty in here. So, let yourself sit. Now, if you want to sit in a chair, fine. If you're at home and you feel like you want to sit on the floor and grab a blanket or two to sit on, do. So you want to get comfortable for yourself. Sometimes sitting up, remember, on a blanket, higher up, feels better in your hips. And if cross-legged is not comfortable on the floor, you can always stretch your legs out too. So take your time. It is December 17th on a Thursday, and this is Gentle Yoga. For anybody who might have just joined us. Uh-oh. Oh dear. Coming apart. Anybody who might have just joined us, let me know if the sound doesn't sound like quite loud enough. I'll speak up a bit now. So sit comfortable, close your eyes now. Let yourself feel your sitting bones really now releasing into the surface you're sitting on, whether it's a chair or the floor. And just close your eyes. Let yourself feel your shoulders soften down away from your ears. And just enjoy watching your breath coming in and going out through your nose. So just feeling the breath coming in to both sides of your nose. If you can imagine breathing equally in and out through both sides. And then if you can, feel your inhales coming into your belly, feeling your belly rise and expand a little bit as you breathe in. Maybe even coming into those three-part breaths, inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, and then all the way up into your chest. Now on your next exhale, let your chin come down towards your chest. Release your head forward. Just feel that release down the back of the neck, maybe into your upper back. And then roll your right ear towards your right shoulder so you come into the left side of your neck, getting a nice little easy stretch there. And then roll the head on back into center, and we're going to keep going. Left ear towards the left shoulder to open into the right side of the neck here. And then we'll come on back down again with the head, chin down towards the chest. And let's inhale the head all the way up here now. Release your arms on out beside you. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down right through the midline to rest in front of our chests. And then we'll reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. Let's inhale here, and on the exhale, twist to your right. So bring your left hand around, maybe all the way to your right knee. Maybe you decide you want to go more to the midline if you're on the floor. Lengthen up. Feel the feet. Whatever part of your feet are touching the floor, gently pressing down. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come back around through center and go all the way into the other direction. So again, pressing into the feet. Lengthening up through the top of your head. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll make our way on back around into center. Float your arms up now, straight out from your shoulders, and flex your hands. Let yourself just feel that underneath sides of the arms waking up there. And then turn your fingertips down towards the ground so you feel more of the tops of your arms. And now loose fist with your hands and circle your hands around so you really feel the wrists working here. And then stop and go the other direction with those circles. Trying to isolate there, really. Just letting yourself feel the hands going. And then come on down, shake out a little bit. If you're cross-legged on the floor, go ahead and switch the leg you have in front. You can stretch your legs out to do it. Bring the other leg in front. Sitting up nice and tall again once you're there. And let's inhale just the right arm now, all the way out and up overhead. And come over into a side stretch. Let yourself just reach up through the fingertips. Feel the right sitting bone drawing down. If you're on the floor, your left hand can give you a little support there. You can use your chair. One more inhale. And on the exhale, rise back up and lower that right arm down. And let's inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And then again, coming over into that side stretch, reaching through the fingertips. Feel that sense of space between the ribs on the left side from your breath. So when you inhale, you feel the spaces getting bigger. And then we'll come on back up, lower that arm on down, and let's lean forward with a nice long back here. Now, it might be just a tiny bit. This all depends on you. If it feels good to you, if you're on the floor, you can go farther forward, walk your hands out. If you're in your chair, you can separate your feet if you want and come farther down with your hands, whether you hold your ankles or put your hands onto the floor or just hang. You really want to pay attention to your own back, so don't go too far. Let your head release if you can so that you feel the weight of your head as long as that doesn't bother your back. And just enjoy the breath coming into the back ribs. And one more breath here. And we're going to slowly start to rise back up to sitting. So bringing yourself back up, arrange your feet, your legs, however you need. Release your arms again out beside you. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, as the hands come down, imagine you're reaching up higher through the top of your head. So you have lots of space in your spine here now. Good. And then we'll unfold our arms. Shake everything out just a little bit. And we're going to come around towards our hands and knees. And if you know you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. You can turn your chair around so that you can put your hands on the seat of your chair and be off of your knees, right? Or you can come all the way down to the floor on your hands and knees, if that's okay for your own knees, or put a blanket underneath your knees. If it feels harsh on your knees, put a blanket under, or if your hands feel really iffy, come on to fists if you need to, right? Or let yourself come to flat hands if that's okay. You got to pay attention to your own wrists. And then take your time. Let yourself just get your knees or your feet right underneath your hips. And let your head hang for a second. Really feel now the weight of your head. Let the tailbone reach back so you're coming into the natural curves of your spine there. And then start to just bring your gaze right between your hands. And take a nice inhale here. And on your exhale, draw your navel up towards your spine as you round up into your cat pose. So the tailbone drops down, the top of the head releases down, really drawing navel towards the spine here. And on your next inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Let your belly sink down, your ribs sink down. You can stay looking between your hands, or you can look forward in your cow pose. That's up to you, how it feels in your neck. So exhale, drawing yourself up into that cat pose. And on the inhales is when you'll send your tailbone back and up and move back through to your cow. Now move at your own speed, right? You may want to go really slowly, or you may want to go a little faster. It might feel better to move a little more swiftly, but sometimes going really slow is interesting too. So just take your time. Imagine you're just waking your spine up here. This suppleness that we have, the ability to move through the back because of the way it's built. Finish off the one you're on. And let's come then to more neutral, looking down between our hands again. And now let's step our left foot forward and our right foot back and come into a lunge. So your hands can be any height you need. Up on the chair seat, even up on a chair back if you need to be higher. Hands can be on the blocks or on the floor. But look back at your right foot. Feel that heel reaching directly behind your foot. And then start to bring your head into line with your spine if you can. So you have this sense of great length. Engage the belly, open up through the back of that right leg. Good, and then we're going to switch and go to the other side. So left foot steps back. Remember, you do want your feet kind of like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. You don't want to line them up like you're on a tightrope. So if you have that little bit of space the wide way, it's just easier on the hips here. Now zip up your low belly. Imagine you're zipping up pubic bone to belly button. Good. And we're going to switch again. So again, once you step that right foot back, doesn't matter how long your lunge is. Some of you might want to lift your left hand up onto your left thigh there. If not, don't do it. Keep both hands down if you need to. If it feels good to do a little bit more, you can bring that hand up. And we're going to come on back again to the other side. So coming back with the left foot again. Again, getting yourself aligned so that you feel really good up into your hips. Whether you feel like bringing that right hand up onto your thigh or not is up to you. Really enjoy opening up the back of that left leg here now. Remember to zip up your belly. Good. And then we'll bring that right hand back down if it was up. We're going to step forward and come into a standing forward bend now. Feet are hips distance apart and parallel, so kind of adjust your stance here to where you feel pretty good, even between your feet. Now you can keep your hands up on the chair, keeping your back longer. You can fold farther forward if that's okay for your back. That forearms can come to a chair seat there. Or you can let your arms hang down or use your blocks underneath your hands. How much you bend your knees, totally up to you. So knees can be bent, knees can be straighter. You do want to think about your sitting bones being right over your heels so you're not shifting your weight. In fact, try that for a second. When you shift your hips back, how that feels. But then come back to where you feel your sitting bones over your heels and you'll feel how much more you get in the pose that way. Another way to support your back is elbows above your knees. That can give your back a lot of support too. So wherever you're able to be, feel your breaths coming in and going out. And see if you can imagine the inhales and exhales coming closer to be the same length. So you can count when you breathe in, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and then think of reaching that same count when you breathe out. So the breaths just gradually become a little more even. Good, one more breath. And then let's bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose here now, look at your feet, adjust. If you want to walk in place a little bit, sometimes you can look at your feet and tell if you're turning your toes out, like one side more than the other. Try to get to where your toes are facing forward. And once you get into now being equal between your feet, lift your toes up. You can look at this too and see what your feet do when you lift your toes up. So think about keeping the big toe mound and the little toe mound into the ground equally. And then go ahead and slowly let the toes relax back down. Bring your gaze on forward and out. And then gently allow your hands to meet there in front of your chest. Coming into your prayer hands, spread the fingers a little bit. Feel as equal as you can here between your feet in your mountain pose. Really the basic pose that all other poses come from is your mountain pose here. So mountain, strongly based through your feet. Thighs are gently engaging upward. And just think of stacking yourself up. Hips over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. Whether your eyes are opened or closed, imagine you're looking out to where the horizon would be. And then we'll let our arms unfold down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees, come back forward into that standing forward bend. Bending your knees will take it out of your back. You can use your chair if you need it. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back, like you have a tabletop for a back here. Hands can be on whatever surface you want. And we'll step the right foot back and find that lunge again. Draw your shoulders down, away from your ears. Feel the belly engaging. Now imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet, pushing them apart, but zipping up the belly. And then we'll come into a downward facing dog pose. So if you're using your chair, your hands will be on the seat of the chair, towards the outside edges of the seat. You can even hold the edges of it if you'd like. Let your elbows hug towards each other, whatever dog you're in, whether your hands are on blocks or chair or the floor. Think of feeling that length of your spine. And then on the next inhale, we'll come out like we're going to do a push-up, out towards your plank pose here. Now, you don't have to go all the way. If you're on the floor, you'd rather go onto your forearms because your wrists bother you, then go to your forearms. You can even do a little push-up. You can bend your elbows, let yourself come into elbows hugging in towards your ribs a little bit. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Reaching back equally through your sitting bones, length through the spine. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. Now, whatever you need to do to come into lunge, you can put your left knee down to get that right foot forward if you need. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend again. So feet hips distance apart and parallel. Whatever support you want underneath your hands, or if you feel really good to hold your own elbows, if that's fine for your back, you can release as far into the forward bend as your back allows. Otherwise, keep support. And now let go of your face and your jaw. Like if your jaw feels kind of tense, you can always kind of open your mouth a little bit and wiggle around. Good. One more nice full deep breath here. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, coming on up to standing, and inhale the arms out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms beside us and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead again. And on the exhale, we're going to bend the knees as we come forward again. It takes it out of your back. Use whatever support you need. And let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And this time we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. So take your time, find your lunge there. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose again. So this time, remember, you're down dog. If your hands are on the floor, you're more like an upside down V. If you're on the chair, it's a little closer to an L. Blocks are kind of somewhere in between. Now walk a little bit. Bend one knee at a time. Let yourself release through the back of the leg that you're straightening there just a little bit deeper. And then come on back to full dog and let your next inhale bring you towards that plank. Again, coming out the plank. And if you like to do that little push-up, you can. You can stay in the plank and think about the core body here if you'd rather. Just feeling the belly engaging. And then we'll come back again into downward facing dog pose. Now from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. Again, if you need to put your right knee down if you're on the floor to get that left foot forward, do it. Press the feet away from each other. Feel that engagement in your belly. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend again. Feet right underneath us. And again, release to where you can. Feel the weight of your head. Maybe even let your head move around a little bit. Nod your head, shake your head. Really try to find that release there through your neck and your jaw. Watching the breaths all the way in and out. Good. And then letting your hands Come on back up to your hips. We'll bend the knees and rise on up. Inhaling the arms out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. And we're going to sit back in a little chair pose. So just imagine you're about to sit back in a chair. It doesn't matter how low the chair is. Your hips shift backwards. Your torso shifts forward a little bit. You're going to really feel your thighs here, right? Your knees should be right out over the center of the feet. You can see it. Look down and make sure you are lined up there. So one more breath here, really feeling the feet equal in the floor. And then keep pressing down into your feet as you rise up to standing. And we'll inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings and come on forward into standing forward bend. And your next inhale is going to help you find that flat back. Again, reach back through your tailbone. Reach forward and out through the top of your head. And we're going to step into down dog from here. So you let your hands be however high you want. The chair or the blocks or the floor, right? You can experiment a little bit if you need to. Elbows hug inward. Remember, knees can be bent in dog or knees can be straighter. Think about the spine. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Now again, you can stay in plank or do little push-ups. If you want to add a little back bend, it's up to you whether you do that. You can let your hips come down, let your chest come forward a little bit towards an up dog. Not necessary to do these. And then come on back into down dog. If you're on the floor, those of you who know Sphinx pose, you can actually come out and go down to the floor and come up to your forearms if you want. So coming on out, deciding about a back bend, not necessary to do one. You can stay in plank. You can move through for a back bend, a cobra, a sphinx, or an up dog. And then you can move your way back into down dog. Good. This time we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. Doesn't matter what you need to do to get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. So check out your feet. Just make sure you're not rolling to the insides or the outsides of the feet. Lift your toes up briefly. And then let the toes relax back down and come into your breath. Really feeling that ease. Heavy head. Full deep breaths, expanding your ribs in all directions when you breathe in. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Take your time, find your mountain pose. If you need to move around a little bit, do. And then we'll unfold our arms, kind of swing them a little bit. Swing them back and forth. You can even kind of bend your knees a little bit if you want to. And let yourself just easily release there. Good. And we're going to come into some warrior poses. So I'm going to turn my chair around. And if you're using your chair, you might want to turn it. Have your blocks handy here too at the front of your mat. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into a warrior two here. So heels are lined up. Left foot is about parallel to the long edge of your mat. When you bend that left knee, you can see it's coming right out over the center of the foot, but you want to be able to see your toes. So you don't want to deeply bend that knee and put that kind of pressure in your knee. And put your hand on your chair if you need to for balance. And now from here, let's rise our arms straight on up from our shoulders. Let your palms face out, down towards the ground. Reach out through your fingertips. And just let your gaze come right out over the top of your left hand. Feel as equal as you can between your feet. Let yourself feel that sense of trying to lengthen your mat with your feet here. And now let's put our right hand down onto our right hip. Our back hand is down. Straighten your left knee out. And bring your left hand down for triangle. You might want to put it on the back of the chair and be up higher. Spine is extended. You're not collapsing, right? You're keeping long. You can go lower with that left hand. You can bring it down to the seat of the chair or down to a block or down your leg. Now, draw your right shoulder up. Let yourself feel your thighs lifting up towards your hips. And if you want to add the right arm straight up from your shoulder, you can. It's not necessary. You can keep the right hand down on your right hip if you'd rather. Feel those thighs lifting upward. It's like you're creating space in your knees. Good. And now bring your right hand back down to your hip. We're going to bend the left knee. Come on back up to warrior two, reaching out through the fingertips now again. And then we'll bring our hands down, and we're going to turn our feet more parallel. So we're coming into a wide-legged forward bend, where your feet are at least as wide apart as your shoulders. If you want, you can grab some blocks or a block and come on forward. And let's actually, whether you're on blocks or the floor, keep your hands out in front of you for a second, right? So you have a long back. Now you can be up on any height of these blocks, the highest, the middle, the lowest. Now with your body lengthened like this, try bending one knee at a time. Don't go too far, and of course, if it hurts your knee, don't do it at all. So if you can bend one knee and stay for a second to let that inner thigh of the long leg get a little more stretch, then you can come to the other side. So take your time, just go a couple more times through, letting yourself release. Good. And then come back into center now, and we're going to try a little twist. So keep your left hand grounded on whatever you're on, a block or the floor. Right hand is going to come up to your right hip, and you're just going to roll that right shoulder up. You can put your right palm right down onto your low back there. Stay level in your hips. Find that twist in the middle of your back. Good. And then come on back down with that right hand, and we're going to go to the other side. Left hand comes up. And then again, just rolling to look to your left, rolling that left shoulder up, letting your palm face down. Good. One more breath. And then coming on back down with the hand. Now, to release here into your breath, you have to decide what your back allows you to do. You can put your elbows above your knees, keep your back long, and maybe let your head hang. You can put your hands down onto blocks or onto the floor between your feet if you're comfortable to do that. But be really mindful so that you don't feel stress in your back. Let yourself come in now just to watching the breath in and out all the way. Keeping your focus on your breath. And see if you can find those little spaces between your breaths. So at the end of your inhale, that little space, that little pause before you exhale. And the same thing at the end of your exhales, that little pause, that little space before you inhale again. And we're going to slowly now start to rise up. So if you need to bring your feet together before you come up some, do that. Use your hands on your thighs to help you up too if you need. And if you're dizzy, you might want to stay wide a little bit to let the head get back into place, and then you can walk your feet on together. Shake it out, move around a little bit if you want. We're going to go to the other side. So for you all, it'll just be stepping the left foot back. And again, warrior two, line up those heels. So if you had your heels in this line, that immediately opens up your hips. The right foot is parallel to the long edge of the mat. The left foot is about parallel to the back edge. And then bend that right knee, that front knee, just a little bit. You don't want to go out beyond your toes. And then we'll bring our arms on up and out, straight out from the shoulders. If you can turn to look out over the top of the right hand, do. If it bothers your neck, you can always turn your head back a little bit, right? Feel the feet equal in the floor. Let yourself feel your hips. One more breath. And then we'll put our left hand down on our left hip. We're going to straighten the right leg out. So as both legs are straight for triangle, right hand comes down. You can put it on the back of the chair. You don't have to go any lower than that. Spine is lengthened. Sides of the body are lengthened. You can go lower if you want. You can go down your leg. You can go down to a block or the seat of the chair. Adding this top left arm up is totally optional. If you do want to add the arm, you can stretch it up from your shoulder. Now remember, it's thighs engaging upward. Space in the knees, using all those muscles around your knees. Good. One more breath. And then we'll bend that right knee. Now press the feet away from each other. That'll get you right back into your core to rise you back into that warrior two. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel for this wide-legged forward bend. So again, at least as wide as your shoulders. How wide you want to go is up to you. And then come on forward. Hands can be on the blocks or on the floor. Remember, you can use any height you want. And from here, we're going to walk over to the right. You might just want to walk your blocks a little to the right, or you might want to walk all the way over to your right foot. That is up to you. Stay here for a couple of breaths. Feel that inner left thigh all the way up into the hip, really, too. And then we'll come on back through center, and we're going to walk to the left. So again, you might just want to shift your blocks a little to the left. You may decide you want to walk over towards your foot. Really feel what's happening here in the legs as you breathe. Good, and then we'll come on back into center again. And now take your time. You know, you can adjust your stance. If it feels fine, better to you to keep your back long. You want to bend your knees quite a bit to rest your elbows above your knees. You know, you can do that so that you come into being able to let yourself release, maybe even hanging your head there if possible. Now, some of you would be fine to bring your hands onto the floor between your feet. So if that's fine and you're letting your head hang there, just let yourself come into your breath. So you have to get comfortable, in other words. Obviously, you're engaged in the lower half of the body, but you're trying to really let go in the upper half of your body. So softness through your face. See if you can imagine relaxing your throat, your tongue. One more full deep breath. And now again, to rise up, you take your time. Do whatever you need to do to get up to standing. So if the feet need to come together more, do it. If you're dizzy, take your time once you get up there. And then walk around. You might want to pick your feet up a little bit and move through. I like to push the tops of the toes into the floor a little bit. We're going to come into warrior one this time. So for sure have your blocks handy. And you can have your chair still turned this way if that's okay for you. We're going to so actually come towards the front of your mat. Get your feet towards the front of your mat. And you can always touch your chair if you need. We're going to step the right foot back for warrior one, which is our front-facing warrior, where your shoulders are square to the front of your mat, right? And the left knee is bent and the right knee is straight. The right foot is turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees. So don't try to overturn out. See what that does into your pelvis here. You're trying to draw everything around to the front, right? Bring your arms out beside you. Float your arms a breath away from you and turn your palms forward. Spread your fingers, reach down through your fingertips. Feel that openness across your chest, but feel how easy it is for your arms to be there, like they're growing out of your back. And then let's inhale the arms up into a wide V, if you can. You can always use your chair. If you lose your balance, put your hands down. You can look up a little bit if that feels okay to you. Feel that lift to the belly. So there's a lift to the belly. Your tailbone is still reaching back a little bit on a diagonal line in warrior one. Good. Imagine inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back of your body. And then we're going to release our arms on down. We're going to straighten the front knee out. So now both your legs are straight. Hips are squaring around to the front. And we're going to come forward for pyramid. Now, you can keep your hands up for a little bit if you want, or you can put them down anytime you want. To the chair back, or to the chair seat, or down on the blocks. You know, take your time. Let yourself, as both legs are straight, you're really getting into the back of both your legs here. Back heel is on the floor still. If you have to adjust, I mean, sometimes you get down and you're like, I want to step back a little farther, or I want to step in a little more. Take your time Enjoy feeling the thighs engaging up towards the hips. And now just for a little added extra fun, bring your left hand up to your left hip and see if you can roll that left shoulder up and twist a little bit there. Coming into the pose known as revolved triangle. So really enjoy now coming into the outside of that leg. One more breath. And then bring the hand on back down. There you are in your pyramid pose. Some of you I know like to bow over the leg. If you do, you can. You can fold forward over that leg if it feels good. And then come on back longer so we can now find a lunge, a regular lunge. Release that right heel directly behind your foot. So now you're back into your lunge, and we're going to add a twist here. Left hand to the left hip, rolling the left shoulder up. Hand can be on your low back. Lengthen out through the top of your head. Reach back into your inner right heel. And then we'll lower back down into lunge with the hand here. We're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us, come into a forward bend wherever you need to be. Elbows above the knees, letting your arms hang down if you want, or holding your elbows if you choose. And then we'll let our hands release to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to come on up to standing and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And enjoy your mountain pose here for a couple of breaths. If you want to shift around, do it. If it feels good to sway a little bit to get evened out, either side to side or front to back, so that you can come back to that middle place where it feels so easy. It's like you're being supported by the air all around you. So the body really wants to align itself. When it does, it makes everything so much easier. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down. Shake out a little bit. Walk around if you need to before we do the other leg. We're going to step the left foot back for this warrior one. So again, you're coming forward. You're going to step the left foot back. Now, whether you step back 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, that's up to you, right? But when you bend that front knee and the back leg being straight, you want to get yourself, again, square to the front of your mat. This time, let's put our hands to meet in front of our chest. So kind of imagine you're zipping up the front of your body, from the pubic bone to the belly button, even all the way up here into your chest. So you get that sense now. Feeling very strong. Good. And let's inhale the hands up, right up through the midline here. Clasp your hands, send your pointer finger up so your thumbs are crossed. Bend your elbows a little bit if you need, and they can kind of hug in towards your face. Now you can decide if you can lift the elbows up a little bit higher, maybe even coming into straighter arms. Not necessary to do this. You can keep the elbows bent. You can keep the arms forward. Everybody's shoulders are different, so find what you can. Feeling that uplift through the front of the body. Downward flow through the back of your body. It's like you're encircled by your breath. Inhaling up the front, exhaling down the back. And then we're going to release our arms on down. We're straightening our front knee out. Now you can always adjust your stance to try to get your hips really squared around here. And then starting to come forward for pyramid. So if you want to keep your hands up a little longer, you can. You can put them down to give you support as you make your way as far as you want. Hands can stay on the back of the chair. They can go down to the blocks or down to the seat of the chair. And remember, sometimes once you get your hands down, you feel like you want to change your stance a little bit. So if you do it. If it feels good to get longer or shorter, let yourself do that. Feel your thighs gently engaging upward, remember. Space in all around your knees. And now for that little bit of added fun. Right hand on up to the right hip, to the low back, rolling that right shoulder up if you can, finding that twist in the middle of your back. Good, beautiful. So your hips are staying level and that twist is right there in the middle of the back. Revolve triangle. And then we'll come on back down with the hand. Now again, those of you who like to bow over the leg, you're more than welcome to. You can let yourself fold forward over that leg if it feels like a relief. If not, don't do it. Good. We're going to come up higher now so we can come into that lunge, remember? So you may want your blocks or your chair under your hand. Release that heel directly behind you now. And we're going to add a twist. So right hand, the same way you just twisted, only this time you're in your lunge. Bringing your hand onto your low back. Some of you might want to stretch that right arm up. That's up to you. You can keep the hand down. You can stretch it up if you want. Good. And then we're going to release to bring the hand on back down. We're going to step forward again. Coming into standing forward bend. So let yourself bend, walk a little bit in your forward bend. Bend one knee and then the other. So you're just easily like shifting a little bit. And then come on back and bend both your knees a little bit. Lift your toes up for a second. And imagine spreading your toes out. Make space between your toes if you can. And then slowly let the toes release back down to the floor. Come into your breath, whatever you need to do for support. And feel those full, deep, even breaths. Imagining that your inhales and your exhales are equally important. Good. One more full deep breath here. And then bringing your hands to your hips. We're going to press into our feet, rise up to standing. Inhaling our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Coming into mountain pose. So let your face be soft. Actually, whether your eyes are open or closed, look on straight out like you're looking out at the horizon. And then just imagine for a second that you're smiling. But don't actually physically smile. Just imagine you are. Finding that lightness to your face. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. Shake out a little bit. Move around if you can. Take your time. Move through your feet. We're going to take our mats into a wall. So if at home, most of you are already pretty close. Just bring your mat into a wall that's close to you. And we're going to come into a little balance work first. So letting your hand come to somewhere. So like if you're at home, you can use your kitchen counter. You know, it doesn't have to be a wall. Let your left hand come to wherever you need for support. We're going to stand on our left foot. And we're going to bring our right foot in for a little tree pose. Now, your right heel can go into the inside of your left ankle. Or you can put the foot up into the inner calf. So you don't want to put your foot right on your knee, right? You need to either have your heel below your knee, or if you feel really good in your hips, to bring your foot up all the way to your inner thigh. You can bring your foot all the way up into your inner thigh. So you have to find what your hips will do without throwing your hips off, right? Hips are square. And then just play a little bit. You can keep your hand on the wall. You can decide if you want to practice bringing your hand off the wall, hands to the heart. You can bring your arms up overhead if that helps find that lift in the front of the body. Now, sometimes when we try to balance, we just tighten everything up and freeze, right? So if you're finding yourself doing that, stop for a second, come down, and then try again and see if you can just be a little more easy about it, right? So even trees sway in a wind. So rather than trying to lock yourself into position, just gently feel the foot coming into the inside of your leg, the inside of your leg coming back into your foot. Good. And then come down, and we're going to turn around. We're going to try the other side. So again, standing on that right foot, the right foot is about parallel to the wall beside you. You can turn your toes a little toward the wall though, if that's more comfortable in your hip. And then that foot can come in either heel to the inner ankle with the toes still on the floor, or you can put the foot up into the inner calf. You can draw the foot up above into your inner thigh if you want. And then just play a little bit. Find a spot to look at. or you can keep your focus. It's fine to put your foot down and readjust anytime. In other words, don't take it too seriously. Let yourself just feel like you're falling in and out of a tree. It's okay. Just be mindful. Let it feel really more like fun, right? And then when we're ready to come down, we're going to turn back around again with our left hand to the wall. Now, you don't have to reach back and get your foot. If you can bend your right knee, let your knees stay pretty close together, and just draw the heel up towards your buttocks. That's stretching your quad out a little bit. If you want to reach back and get your foot, you can. If that's too much, obviously, for your knee, just don't bother. If you have your foot, you can press your foot into your hand. Think about your knees staying directly down for a second here. So you're really keeping your knees kind of side by side. Now, if you want to lean forward a little bit and let that right knee go back behind you more, you can. If you push the foot into your hand, you're going to come a little bit more. You can play a little bit. You can balance with the left hand off the wall if you want. And then we're going to come on back, down, let that foot come down, and we're going to switch and go to the other side. So again, your weight's on your right foot, left knee bends. If you don't have to reach back and get it, you can just let the knee face down. You can decide if you want to try to get the foot. If it's too much, don't do it. And then again, if the knee wants to come back a little bit, you can come forward a little with your torso to counter that. You can release the right hand off the wall if you want. Pressing that foot into your hand helps a little bit. Good. And then come on back down. Turn to face the wall and let yourself come into a forearm plank where you're on your forearms on the wall. Go ahead and clasp your hands together and send your pinky finger out long. And you're stepping back so that you have your body nice and long. Pressing into the forearms, elbows hugging towards each other. Just enjoy being in this forearm plank here. And let yourself just feel like you're trying to draw your elbows softly towards each other, but they're not actually moving. Feel that engagement, what that does into the armpits and your chest. Now, if you want, you can bend your knees, slide your arms down the wall a little more, and then shift your hips back. This is coming in towards a dolphin pose. Very different feeling in the shoulders than a plank. So obviously, don't do it if it feels like too much. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly come on back up to the wall. Go ahead and turn around. Bring your hands behind you and clasp your hands together. And get close enough for your hands to touch the wall. So your hands are in the wall, which means your heels are probably, 2 or 3 inches or 1 away from the wall. And then just lean your head back into the wall. Let it feel easy. So don't force it. Just feel the back of the top of the head into the wall. Now, if you want a little more, you can shift your hips a little more forward so that you come just a little bit deeper into a back bend. The other thing you can do is walk your feet farther out if you want and let yourself look up a little higher. And that is totally up to you. You're still feeling your belly engaging, your tailbone dropping down. So you definitely don't want to feel discomfort in your low back here. Just opening through the chest, through the front of the body. A supported back bend here. Good. And then shift your hips on back to the wall. Bend your knees just a little bit. Good. And we're going to come on down onto our mats on the floor. And we're going to lie on our bellies. All right? So let yourself come all the way down. Lie on your belly. Be easy. Rest your forehead on your hands if you can, so that you can feel a real release there, right? You're just able to let and if that's not comfortable to put your head on your hands, you can move your hands and put your head on the floor. But just breathe into your low back. And then bend your knees, bring your feet up in the air, and let your feet circle. Actually, do whatever you want with your feet right now. They can do a little dance back there. Nobody's looking. Just let yourself move your feet around. You can flex and point, circle. And then let your lower legs come from one side to the other. And then come on back. Stretch the legs down long underneath you again. Come to the tops of the feet. Release your arms now. See if you can bring your arms down alongside you and turn your palms down towards the floor. Now your fingertips are on the floor, not on your mat, so they're out just a little ways from you. See if you can on your next inhale, let your head come off the floor so your nose just barely clears the floor. And then slowly lower your forehead back down. And now try to lift just your legs off the floor. Inhale your legs up. And then release the legs back down. And now let's try head and legs together. Inhaling head and legs both up. Elbows can be bent. And then release down. And now we'll try everything that you can lift up off the floor, right? Inhaling up into your locust pose, reaching fingertips and toes back towards the wall behind you. Good. And now come down, bring your hands back under your forehead again. And let's bend our right knee. Flex your right foot. Let yourself just enjoy feeling your quad, just like you do when we're standing up. And then stretch that right leg long and bend the left knee. So you're not really reaching back yet. You're just letting yourself flex the foot. Feel the heel come in. And then release now. Back long. Now, this is up to you. You can go back to that locust with our arms alongside us, floating everything up. Some of you may want to bend both your knees and reach back with your hands and get your feet. That is totally optional. You know it. So if you want to press your feet into your hands and lift them up a little bit, you'll be in a bow pose. Not necessary to do that. You can still just let your arms and legs float up in that locust. And then we're going to release down, and we're going to come on back to child's pose. So shifting your hips back towards your heels. Take your time. You know, if that's too much for your hips, your knees, don't do it. You can stay forward like this onto your forearms and kind of rest your head. And still get a nice release for your back, right? So think about your big toes coming towards each other. Your knees as far apart as feels good. And then just release where you can. Feel the breath coming into the low back. Full, deep, even breaths. Good. So one more breath. And then bringing your hands back by your knees. We're going to make our way up to sitting. So coming on around to sit. Now, if you know, you're better off to be up on a blanket. Grab a blanket or a block or both and sit up on them. I mean, it can be a little edge of a blanket, or you may decide you want a double blanket. It's up to you. We're just going to reach. Let's all do our right leg out. And let's bring our left knee in and up. And keep the foot to the inside of this right leg somewhere, either below your knee or above, right? If you pull your knee in like this and you end up sitting like this, you'll be better off to lower the foot down so you can sit up tall. Because we're going to twist. So lengthening up and letting your right hand just come right over there to that left knee. Take a nice inhale. And as you exhale, bring your left arm on around. Now, as far as you want to go behind you, let the fingertips lightly touch the floor if you can. If you're up higher, obviously, you just might float the hand off. But Take your time. You can keep your hand on your knee. Some of you may decide you want to go ahead and bring your arm all the way across to the outside of the knee. So if that feels good, let yourself do that. Lengthening up through the top of the head. Now feel both your sit bones drawing down. One more inhale. Now as you exhale, we're going to come back through center, but we're going to keep twisting to the other direction. So if you can put your left hand on the top of your right leg, you've got your arm to the inside of that left knee. Press the left leg into your arm a little bit. So you're engaging, lengthening up as you come into this twist. Good. One more breath there. And then use your belly to bring you back around. We are going to cross this left ankle above the right knee and ease our way forward just a little bit. All right? It doesn't matter how far. I mean, if you feel like you can reach down and get towards your foot or your ankle, you want to come farther because it feels like a relief, do it. If it's too much, just cross and think of coming forward a little bit from your low back. Good. One more breath. And we're going to slowly come on back up, and we are going to switch legs. So stretching that leg out and bringing down left leg long, right foot in. And again, to the inside wherever you want to be, right? Sitting up nice and tall. So take your time. Left hand goes across to the right knee. So you're just inhaling into the length of your spine. And then when you exhale, you're going to bring your right hand behind you, coming into twist. So again, if you want to draw your arm across, you can, across to the outside. If that feels good up into your shoulder. Some people it does, some people it doesn't. So just let yourself feel your sitting bones into the ground equally. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel your left heel on the floor if you can. That long leg, that heel draws down and back towards you. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to come back through center. We're going to keep on going, remember, into the other direction for that twist. So now your right arm comes onto the hand on the left leg and kind of press that right leg into your arm. Quite an engagement there. Lengthening up. It's a lot of work. Try to feel length in the back of your neck and throat. Think of your chin being parallel to the floor. One more breath. And then use your belly. Come back around into center. And again, we'll cross into that figure four. You can always go lower if you need to. You don't have to cross above the knee. You can be below. Maybe you can come a little forward to give yourself a little hip relief, right? If it's not a relief, don't do it. If it feels uncomfortable, just let yourself just cross where you can and sit up tall. You don't have to do that forward motion, right? Good. And we're going to make our way back up from there. Stretch your legs out. Shake them out a little bit. Do some little wiper blades in and out and in and out. You can go the same direction or opposite, whatever feels good. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. So have a block or two handy for yourself. Yeah, everybody's like, yay! So, once you get down on the floor, bring your knees into your chest and let the knees come side to side a little bit. Just release your own hips and low back. How it feels good to you, right? And then keep your right knee in. You can hold behind the thigh or at the shin below your knee and put your left foot on the floor. And then start to slowly extend your left leg long and feel how your back changes, right? The low back comes off the floor into its natural curve. And that's what you want. You're not trying to push your low back into the floor. You're letting the back just find that natural curves that it has in it. Flex through both your feet. Good, and then bring the left knee in and put the right foot on the floor. And again, once you start to lengthen, do it slowly and feel what happens. As you start to lengthen through the right leg long, flex through both the feet. Press that left leg gently into your hands. And now your back is all into its natural curves. Good. And then bring that right knee in, both knees in. Stretch your legs up for just a second towards the ceiling and go back and forth like you're cross-country skiing on the ceiling, sort of. Just a little bit back and forth, back and forth. And then bring your feet on down to the floor. We're going to find a little bridge pose here. Now, your choice might be to grab a block and put it underneath your low back so you're fully supported. You want your feet to be pretty parallel, a little bit wider than you are in your mountain pose. You can rest and be perfectly happy in a restorative bridge pose here, so where you can let your back relax. Those of you who like to press into your feet, press into the backs of your arms, and rise up for a bridge pose, you can. You're more than welcome to stretch your arms long, keep your elbows bent. You're more than welcome to stay supported on that block. Another fun thing to do sometimes is to lift up and down off the block. So you can always do that if it feels good too. And remember, in bridge pose, you never want to feel any kind of discomfort in your back. Bridge pose, you will feel in your thighs, but it is that lengthening in the front and the back of the body in your bridge pose, not a sense of compression in your back. So take your time. I'm going to start getting some lights just to let it get a little bit easier once we get ready to come into Shavasana. So take your time to just be mindful of either stay in your bridge or come in and out of it. And if your body needs to get out of bridge and stay out of bridge, then by all means do that. You know, Shavasana, really probably the most important part of class. Lying for a few minutes to give your body and your brain time to benefit. So, you know, getting comfortable is different for all of us after a yoga class, or of course any time really. We're all different. We're all built different. And poses, your body responds differently. So if you need some support once you're lying on your back, sometimes a good thing is to have a bolster underneath your knees. Remember, I will bring those here in the studio. If you're at home, you can use a blanket. If you roll the blanket up, it can be really comfortable underneath your knees. You can use a blanket at the back of your head. I'm going to walk around with bolsters. Wave at me if you think you want one under your knees. See if that's a good place. You might have to adjust. I got you. I got you. So just give yourself time. If you need to move your arms or your legs around a little bit, do. So that you can feel released all the way into your shoulders and your hips. Those of you online, once you get set up, I'm losing the battery on my phone, so I'm going to go ahead and close out, but I want you to stay in Shavasana as long as you want, which is kind of a gift. So you may decide that you want to stay longer, you may want to stay a shorter time, but I'm going to go ahead and finish off here. Namaste to all of you.